Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Dr. Kenyon Hackworth back again. How much would approximately $30,000 invested in Amazon and Apple about 8 years ago be worth today? Today, we're going to find out the answer to that question. But listen, if you have not subscribed yet, please make sure you hit that subscribe button and the like button, and make sure to share this information, okay? So, two things I want to point out. One, I always want to point out the tremendous power of compounding. Wealth is built by compounding your money at high rates for long periods of time. It's not built by my mentality or just the wits of your financial advisor or any money manager or anything like that. It's due to the three factors. It's time, it is dollars invested, and it's the compound annual growth rate. So we're going to look at how much Amazon and Apple, $30,000, was invested 8 years ago, and how much would it be worth today. All right, so one of the things that's very, very important is understanding this tremendous power of compounding. And also, Charlie Munger's number one rule of compounding is to not interrupt it unnecessarily. So this is an example of stocks that were bought and held for roughly 8-9 years, and how the money grows because you're buying into good businesses that are run by good management, and you're just leaving it alone and just allowing them to run the business without your interference. Now, let me explain something. Financial advisors or people who have an economic incentive to get you a turn your account would never tell you to just buy and hold a stock. They can't make money off a person who buys and holds stock. So that's one thing I've learned from studying Warren Buffett. They cannot make money off a person who buys and holds a stock for 20 years. So now in 2018 is when I first started documenting all of my investments. All the investments I made. I have these notebooks. I am currently on my third notebook now. So I have all these different notes of the investment actions I made, decisions I made, and notes that I've gotten from studying other successful investors and how that could benefit me and my family going forward, and using those ideas to help me to become a better investor. I'm not a trader. I am an investor. And I didn't go to some fancy school to learn that. I learned about studying investors. All right, so 2018, I started tracking this. So I had some stocks that I own in Yahoo Finance. So I printed out a copy of what Amazon and Apple at that particular point in time. So at that particular point in time, it was November 26, 2018. Amazon, I had 20 shares of Amazon. The cost basis was $884.26. That means that was the average price per share. And Apple, you can see at that particular point in time, it had gone up to the market value of $30,041.20. Apple, at that particular point in time, I own 110.56 shares. The cost basis, or the average cost per share, is $120.06. And at that particular point in time, the market value of Apple, these particular shares, was $19,049.05. Now, this was before any pre-stock splits that happened recently. So what I'm going to do is, first I'll tell you how much those actually became by the end of 2024. So this right here shows at the end of December 1st, 2024. So I show this, and then I will go back through and look at it year by year, so you can see the ebbs and flows of how stocks behave on an annual basis. Stocks don't just go up. Stocks can go up and down and fluctuate a little bit in between. So here you can see the shares purchased in 2016. You have the company, you have the columns there, shares purchased in 2016. Now, some of it probably leaked over to 2017. So what I did anyway is I used that initial beginning stock price, the number of shares, and the beginning market value of each. You can see Amazon, the beginning market value was $17,685.20. And for Apple, it's $13,273.83. So that total beginning market value for these two companies was $30,959.03. So Amazon had gone on and done a 20-for-1 stock split. That means for each share you own, you get an additional 19 shares. So what happens is the stock, nothing changes in the value with a stock split. You get more shares, but the value stays the same. So a 20-for-1 stock split would be the equivalent of you having a $100 bill and you giving it to somebody and they give you $25 bills. You have more bills, but the value is still $100. So the same with Apple, a 4-for-1 stock split would be the equivalent of you having a $1 bill and somebody giving you 4 quarters. So nothing changes in the value with the stock split. You divide the stock price by the 20, and that gives you the average price now of $44.21 for Amazon, $30.02 for Apple on the 4-for-1 stock split. When you divide the $120.06 by 4, and you multiply the number of shares also in Amazon by 20 because of the 20-for-1 stock split. So you have 400 shares of Amazon now. So that 400 shares at $44.21 is the same value as the 20 shares at $884.26. So the stock appears cheaper by dollar amount. You have more shares, but the value of your investment still stay the same. Apple, you see there, the shares after the stock split, 442.24 shares, and the split adjusted price is $30.02. Again, that's the same value if you multiply, and pretty much, I had to round, but pretty much the same value of the pre-stock price. Now, December 31st, after the stock split, Amazon had gone up to $219.39 for a market value at that particular point of $87,756. So it had an unrealized gain. So it had grown by $70,070.80 or 396.21%. Apple on December 31st, 2024 had grown by 110,000, or the market value was $110,745.74 for a total unrealized gains of $97,471.91, or growth of 734.32%. Now, this does not include any reinvested dividends because I always reinvest the dividends, but I just left it here to kind of show the aspect of just the capital appreciation. So the total market value of both of these companies had grown from $30,959.03 to $198,501.74 for a total unrealized gains of $167,542.71. Now, these gains are unrealized, means that, so realized gains is if when you sell the stock. So if I sell all of these shares right now, I would have $198,500 in cash, and then the $167,000 would be realized gains at that point. Now, if these were in a brokerage account, the unrealized gains is money that just grows tax deferred. Most people think the only way your money grows tax deferred is if you put it into a retirement account. But if you buy a business and you own a business and you're not trading stocks, your money can grow without you having to pay taxes on it, with the exception of the dividends that you receive. But the unrealized gain portion is money that grows tax deferred. And one other beautiful thing about it is that you have access to your capital at the same time. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at these on an annual basis. So I'll have this second chart here I'm going to put up. So it breaks down the return year by year of these two particular stocks. It shows the rate of return each year and then the market value at the end of each particular year using the number of shares and multiplying it by the current stock price at the end of the year. So on this chart, if you look at the left side, it has the company. You see Amazon, Apple. It has the year in the second column, 2017. You go down the next year, 2018, 2019, and 20. The next few columns don't change. The shares stay the same. Beginning stock price, beginning market value, stock split, post split price, and then shares after split. All those stay the same. They don't change. The current stock price, the next column, it changes based upon the stock price at the end of that calendar year. First one is 2017, and then below it 2018, etc. And then you have the market value is what the current stock price multiplied by the number of shares would tell you the value of the holdings at the end of each particular calendar year. And then you have the unrealized gains. It shows the capital appreciation. That is the market value minus the beginning market value. And then it also shows the percentage of growth. In the last column, you have the dividend income that's in blue. And it shows what if this was in a regular brokerage account. Now, these are in my Roth, so whatever they grow to in the future is 100% tax-free after 59.5. That is the beauty of a Roth. And a Roth I will get into later on. I think everybody should have a Roth because you cannot pass up the opportunity to have tax-free money. Tax-free money. That is tremendous. So now, if this was in a regular brokerage account, the dividend income would be the only amount, if I didn't sell anything, would be the only amount that's taxable each particular year. Like you can see in 2017, $274.19. That would be the taxable income that particular year. Not the unrealized gains, remember. They're not realized until you sell it. So a lot of rich people own stock and they don't sell it. So their money just grows tax deferred, but they have access to it. It's not just all into a retirement account that you can't access until you're basically 60 years old. So the left-hand column here, the rate of return. So I'm not going to go through every single year because you can pause these and study these on your own time in more detail. So I'm going to skip to 2018. You can see the Amazon rate of return for 2018 was 28.43%, and Apple was down 5.39%. So, but what happens is collectively, they still had a year-over-year change of 13.65%. So Amazon at the end of 2018 had a market value just over $30,000, and Apple had grown to over $17,000. So collectively, they were worth over $47,000. So they had grown by almost $17,000 over that couple of year span. 2019, you can see the rate of return for Amazon is 23%. Apple is 88%. A lot of times when great businesses have a down year, they bounce back with an even better year the next year. In 2020, you can see that Amazon was up 76% that year, and Apple was up 82%. And you can go over to the market value at the end of each particular year, and you can see the growth that's beginning to happen. And I had to do absolutely nothing. That's what happens when you own a good business. But they have made you so afraid to own individual stocks because Enron went out of business, or Sears, or Kmart, or Toys R Us, or Blockbuster, or Polaroid, or Xerox, Circuit City. You can go on and keep naming them. They use these to generate fear. Fear, when you are afraid, you can easily be controlled and manipulated as well, especially with your finances. So, listen. All right, so now we're going to skip over to the next year, 2021. Again, you can go back. You can pause these. You can study these in more detail if you want to look at these on an annual basis. So you see 2021. Amazon was up 2.38% and Apple was up 34.65%. So now you can see the market value had grown from $30,959.03 to, by the end of 2021, it was up at $146,263.17, or for a total unrealized gains of $115,000, or 372%. Now, 2022 was the first bear market. Bear market is when your portfolio or the S&P or the index drops down greater than 20%. Not counting COVID, which was a brief month in 2020, this is the first bear market since way back in 2008. So stocks had gone on a tremendous run since 2008, and this is the first one. Now, this is when a lot of people freak out and people start running to sell their stocks because they start going down. As you can see in 2022, Amazon was down roughly 50% that year. Apple was down 26.40%. So if you look at the market value of Amazon at the end of 2021, it was $67,456. By the end of 2022, it was down to $33,600. Apple had dropped from $78,000 to just over $57,000, and collectively, the value dropped from $146,000 down to $91,000. So the year change was down negative 37.74%. Now, like I said, this is when people was like, oh, I got to sell my stock. I got to get out. I got to put stop losses. I have to do all of this. But when you think about owning a business as opposed to owning stocks or things that go up and down on a price chart, you're not trying to make these sudden changes based on what the stock does. Because what's really important is the function of the business. How is the business doing? That's what you're buying. All stocks are little pieces of businesses. So if the business is continuing to do fine, you can continue to own the stock. Now, the next year, 2023, you can see Amazon was up 80.88%. and Apple was up 48.18%. Now, if you go back over to market value, you see that the market value of Amazon had gone back up to $60,000. Apple had gone up to $85,000, so it was up more than the year before at the end of 2021. Collectively, they were back up to $146,000 if you round it up. So pretty much within 1 year, by me doing absolutely nothing, by not panicking, by just continuing to own the shares of these wonderful companies, the market value was back to where it was the year before the bear market happened. So if you go down to 2024, you can see that the rate of return again on Amazon was 44.39%. The rate of return for Apple was 30.70%. Now, you can see collectively, the market value had grown from $30,959.03 to $198,501.74. And the unrealized gains, again, $167,542.71. or 541.18%. Now remember, Amazon does not pay a dividend. Apple pays a small dividend. So, like I said, if these was in a regular brokerage account, which you don't have to fear investing in a regular brokerage account, it gives you access to your money as opposed to waiting until you're 60 and then you can withdraw, or them hitting you with some penalty if you have to withdraw money. But again, these are in my Roth, so whatever they grow into is 100% tax free. However, if they were in that brokerage account, the only taxable income from last year would be $437.82. That unrealized gain of $167,000, because it's unrealized and I haven't sold it, that's not taxable income. You only tax when you sell, and you're taxed at the capital gains rate, which tends to be a little bit lower. So now I bought these in 2017. I talked about, or 2016. I talked about the power of compounding and how your money compounds and how that builds up. Now, if they compound, actually, I will show you, I will go through, because a lot of people always talk about past performance is no guarantee of future results, which is true. Nothing is guaranteed in terms of investing. So if you remember in 2022 was a bear market. If you look at the longevity, it's all about longevity. It's about buying great companies, allowing them to compound. The longevity aspect of it, from 2021 to December 2024, they have a compound annual growth rate of 13%. And that's because of the proximity or how close it is to that 2022 bear market. Now, I'm going to go through this briefly, but again, if you want to pause it to look at it in more detail, but this is going to show you the actual compound annual growth rate dating all the way back to 2000. So in 2020, this is if you invested into these companies, let's say $10,000 in Amazon and $10,000 in Apple, or $5,000 in each, or $200 in each, whatever. This is investing equally. And this show in January of each particular year, it shows you what your compound annual growth rate would have been up through 2024. So from 2020, if you invested in January 2020, your compound annual growth rate would have been 24.1%. If you invested in January of 2019, from 2019 to 2024, 29.8%. 2018, 25.9%. 2017, 28.8%. 2016, 26.8%. 2015, 28.4%. 2014, 26%. 2013, 26.3%. 2012, 27.2%. 2011, 25.9%. 2010, 27%. 2009, 32.6%. 2008, 25%. Now, what happened in 2008? It was the housing market crash. So all the stocks went bananas and died, and all this stuff happens. But doesn't matter what happened in that 1 year. You could have picked the wrong time to invest, but if they're good businesses and you held on to them, these two examples, your money still would have grown over this time period at 25%. 2007, 29.5%. 2006, 27.7%. 2005, 29.6%. 2004, 33.5%. 2003, 34%. 2002, 31.9%. 2001, 31.4%. And then 2000 was 23.4%. 2000 would have been the absolute worst time to invest because it was the right before the dot-com crash. Both of these stocks were down 70% that year. But if you had held on to them, which would have been tough, your money still would have compounded at over 20% a year. This shows the consistency of how really, really, really good companies can perform over a long period of time. So the objective, I always say, is look to identify great businesses that you can buy, that you can own for a long period of time. Now, I have no idea at what rate the money is going to compound going forward. Let's say, for instance, that it doesn't compound at 20%. Let's say it drops down to 14.5%. That means that my money was double every 5 years. You got to understand the rule of 72. So that $200,000, what the market value is now, that $200,000 will double to $400,000 by year 5, and then will double to $800,000 by year 10. Remember, these are in a Roth. I am 50, so I don't have access to them till 59 and a half, so basically 60 years old. So that means that by 60, even if the growth slowed, they will still be roughly around 800,000. Now, if they grow at 18%, that means the money doubles every 4 years. So in 12 years, it will go from 200,000 to 400,000 by year 4, from 400,000 to 800,000 by year 8, and then 800,000 to 1.6 million by year 12. That's the power of compounding. That's why Charlie Munger said to not interrupt it unnecessarily. You don't freak out and sell just because stock price is going down. You know, the people get paid every time you make incentives like this. Now, the key is you have to make sure that you're invested in great businesses. Just because a stock price goes down or a stock price goes up doesn't necessarily mean it's a great business. And just because a stock price goes down doesn't mean it's a bad business. You have to learn the difference between the two. But you don't want to hold on to bad businesses and say, well, the stock price going down, so I'm going to keep holding on to it. No, there's some times when certain businesses you have to get rid of. But if it's a great business, you just own it. So again, this shows the power of compounding and how $30,000 can continue to grow, and it's not done growing, how it can continue to create wealth long term for myself or for my family. And the beautiful thing about the stock market is you can always buy new shares of the same company. You can buy the same company. This is not the only time I bought shares of Amazon and Apple. I can continue to buy these shares long into the future. Anyway, this one was a little bit longer, but I hope it was educational. I want to provide you with educational content that you can learn, that you can use. I'm not going to be talking about, oh, you buy this stock for September or buy this stock for February, or buy these 5 stocks for April. I don't believe in that. Buy these 5 stocks for May. I don't believe in that. I don't believe in that. You find you a few great businesses, you allow them to compound, and then that can build you up. That is your money working for you. All right. Until next time, I will talk to you later. Have a great day. Leave a comment. Make sure you share, and look out for more videos. All right. Have a great one.